Every time I open my phone, I get a new advert for some sort of perimenopause miracle cure, and I bet you do too. But nobody is talking about those deeply personal worries that a lot of women have. So 25 to 50% of women over the age of 45 will have some sort of pelvic floor dysfunction. So I'm talking about that worry that when you laugh or sneeze, you might have a little leak. Maybe you've even got pain or discomfort. Now the chances are, if that's you, you've done one of two things. Either you've tried doing some Kegels, which probably didn't have very much effect, or you've buried your head in the sand and hope that it'll go away. I absolutely get that you might feel embarrassed or frustrated or just feel like it's something you have to deal with on your own, or maybe even just it's a part of getting older. But if you'll give me 5 minutes of your time, I want to tell you why it's not just something that you have to deal with. It is absolutely normal for women to have pelvic floor dysfunction, whether you've had kids or not. It's very, very common for this to raise its ugly head during perimenopause because of hormone fluctuations, and it is absolutely treatable. So please give me 5 minutes to cut through the confusion and give you some clear, actionable steps to move your health forward with. Hi, I'm Sally. I'm a coach and nutritionist. I've worked for the last 15 years with women over the age of 40, helping them navigate all these complexities that come along with midlife and perimenopause. I've also been through early menopause myself, so I know how you're feeling if you are struggling with perimenopause symptoms, on a bit of a hormonal roller coaster. I gained 5 stone. I've now lost that. I lost a bunch of bone density and ended up with osteopenia. I've now reversed that and rebuilt my bone density. I am walking proof, along with hundreds of my clients, that you can turn the tables on this. It is all very treatable, but the key thing is having guidance, actionable guidance that you can trust, because there is so much nonsense out there designed to confuse you, to be totally honest. So ultimately, it is my mission to help as many women as possible use strength training as self-care to build muscle, bone density, energy, and ultimately to have as many fun adventures as you can, to be able to trust your body and future-proof your body so you can enjoy the decades ahead. So let's talk about pelvic health. You have probably heard the term pelvic floor before. Now, it's usually associated with postnatal recovery, so after you've had a baby. But it also comes massively into play during perimenopause and menopause, regardless of whether you've had a baby or not. And there are 2 reasons for that. The first is that our pelvic floor is a group of muscles, and all our muscles, as we age, unless we are doing something to maintain muscle mass, they are going to gradually degrade and weaken. And that's even more relevant for your pelvic floor muscles because they are at the base of our pelvis holding some really important organs up. So they are fighting against gravity all the time. The second reason is that there is more and more research showing that estrogen, as it declines in perimenopause, has more and more of an effect on the elasticity and strength of our individual muscle tissue. So if you've had pelvic floor dysfunction in the past, say you did have kids, and then you kind of thought you'd gotten through that phase and then it comes back again as you hit perimenopause, that could well be why. So it's really common. It's important to be aware of. It's important that these things get talked about. But most importantly, it's not something you just have to live with. You can absolutely do something about it. Okay, quick run through in case you're not aware of exactly what your pelvic floor is. So if you imagine your core muscles, you probably think of your abs at the front. I always tell my clients, your core muscles are actually your whole trunk. If you imagine a can of Coke, okay, you've got ab muscles at the front, you've got obliques on the side, you've got your lower back muscles and your glutes at the back. That's that circumference of the trunk. But at the top, you've got your diaphragm, your breathing muscle. And then at the bottom, holding everything up, we've got our pelvic floor muscles. So imagine your pelvic floor muscles at the base of your pelvis are like a wicker basket. They're carrying a lot of heavy shopping, okay? Most importantly, those 3 really vital organs: your bladder, your bowels, and your uterus if you have one. They are this crucial support system. And if you've ever heard of a prolapse, or maybe you've even had one, that is when that wicker basket starts to essentially get some little leaks in it. So you may even have one of those organs protruding through a gap in the muscles. That's essentially what a prolapse is. Your pelvic floor is getting tired and weak from holding up those vitally important organs. But it's not all bad news. They are muscles, just like any other muscle in your body. We can train them, we can strengthen them. Because ultimately, if those muscles are not working optimally or in the way that we would like, you can end up with a massive range of issues, from incontinence and prolapse through to just feeling constantly worried or embarrassed, and ultimately that impacts your confidence and your quality of life. So it's super important to know that you can turn that around. This is not just something you have to live with forever if you're beginning to realize that you have some issues. So what can you do? Just like any muscle, If your pelvic floor muscles are weak, they can be strengthened. If they are tight, they can be released. Now, you've probably heard the term, oh, just do your Kegels and you'll be fine. Now, a Kegel is a really small movement that involves contracting and relaxing your pelvic floor. So it's really common for women to be told, every time you're at a red traffic light, just do your Kegels. So if you imagine you were gonna try and hold in a wee, you're desperate for the toilet, you are lifting your pelvic floor muscles then. Now, where this information gets confused is that it's not as simple as just contracting your pelvic floor. If you contract your pelvic floor all the time, and a lot of women who are very nervous about having leaks when they cough or sneeze will be doing this a lot, you'll be holding a lot of tension there. Your pelvic floor muscles can actually get really, really fatigued. So they're always tired because they're always switched on. Imagine always squeezing your bicep all the time. You're holding shopping, carrying it up here, and this muscle's working really, really hard. If you then went to drop that shopping and you really needed it, they might just give way. That's essentially what happens when you cough or sneeze because you've been holding your pelvic floor really, really tight all the time, they're really, really tired, and then when they really need to contract because you're going to cough, sneeze, laugh, then they just can't hold anymore. That's when you have a little leak. So yes, Kegels are an important part of the puzzle. You need to be able to contract your pelvic floor. It's also just as important to know when to relax your pelvic floor. When do you let those muscles have a little break? When is a safe time to let them go? When should you be tightening them? Are you holding them so tight all the time that they are in fact becoming weak and too tight and actually they need to be released in some way? If you imagine you had a knot in your shoulder, you might want a massage. There are other ways you can release the tension in your pelvic floor. It's not as simple as just do your Kegels. It's going back to that sort of can of Coke analogy of your whole trunk. All these muscles work together. Your whole core, your diaphragm, breathing muscle at the top, your pelvic floor at the bottom. We want them all working together. That's how your body was designed. There is no single muscle that is designed to just contract on its own without thinking about your breathing and your posture and everything else. And I know that makes it sound complicated. It doesn't have to be complicated. I'm just trying to help you understand that it's just not as simple as just do your Kegels. A big part of it is learning how to brace your whole core and when to relax your whole core. And that goes in terms with your breathing. And that's one of the reasons I'm a massive advocate of strength training for women in midlife, because not only do we want all of our muscles to get stronger and more resilient as we age, your pelvic floor is massively included in that. Because the more you learn to lift weights and breathe at the right times as you contract other muscles, your pelvic floor can absolutely be being trained at the same time. It's all about being more mindful with your movement and learning to connect different parts of your body and your brain and your body all together. Now, I don't want this video to go on for hours, so I hope that's given you a good overview of the importance of your pelvic floor and why you might need to think about training it better. Now, I help women learn how to make strength training a part of their life, think of it as self-care, and to give themselves headspace and brain space by knowing that their body is being taken care of in 1, 2, or even 3 sessions per week. If that's not something you are doing right now, that could absolutely be a brilliant place to start. But there is one caveat. If you are currently experiencing pain, discomfort, leaks, the best thing you can do is seek professional help from a women's health physiotherapist or pelvic floor specialist. They will be able to help you identify very quickly whether your muscles are tight or weak, or what needs to be strengthened. Is it your posture overall? Is it the position of your pelvis? And guide you through exercises that will help. A lot of women don't even know that that type of physiotherapy exists. So please seek it out in your area. Drop me a message if you need a hand figuring out what to ask for or whether you even need this. I know it might feel embarrassing, but ultimately this is about improving your quality of life for decades ahead from now. Imagine getting this problem sorted out within the next 6 months to a year and not having this concern ever again. Now, if this video has been helpful, please hit like and subscribe. There are also some links at the bottom of the video for free downloads. So if you are ready to try some strength training and you want some pelvic floor cues within each exercise so you know when to breathe, when to engage your pelvic floor, when to relax, you can download my free 2-session strength kickstart. So it's a beginner's guide to strength training for women in midlife and in perimenopause. Take a look at the links below, drop me a message if you have any questions, and I'll hopefully see you soon.